I'm in a new room. I thought a change of pace might be nice, and the Christmas tree is a good touch. Maybe, I don't know. My name is Jack Wallen, and I am here to talk to you about art. Not like the art in the sense you might be thinking. And actually, this is a redo of a conversation that I had with you yesterday that, although it turned out okay, I missed a few points. And with this particular topic, I have to be really careful. You'll understand in a moment. This issue was brought about by last week. I was on the Twitter, as I am wont to do. You can join me on Twitter. My handle is @JLWallen, W-A-L-L-E-N. Well, last week I was scrolling through the Twitter, scroll, doom scrolling as they call it. And I noticed something rather interesting, something I hadn't seen in a while, which is really a lie because I think when I really consider it, I've seen it quite often over the past few years. As I was scrolling, I noticed a pattern. And that pattern was that nearly every person that I saw was a writer, hawking their books. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I get on the Twitter and I hawk my books as well. I just don't do it quite at that frequency. This got me to thinking, how is it possible that of the millions and millions and millions of users on Twitter, that almost every user that I saw that day, or that moment of that day, was a writer? And then it dawned on me. The answer is quite simple, because there are millions of people out there claiming to be writers. And now, before I really get into this, I want to be perfectly clear that it is not my place to tell anybody they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. In fact, I take it upon myself to encourage people. I have spent many, many, many years encouraging artists. In fact, I'm going to take us back in time a little bit. I taught at a number of universities. I taught at actually from the 101 to the 401 levels, undergrad. And I taught in theater departments. I taught acting, I taught movement, I taught voice, I taught 101, I taught history. So I had a particular methodology. And one of the things that I always did on the first day of class for the 201s and the 301s. Why 2 and 3? Because typically acting 101 students were coming into class all wide-eyed and naive. And they did not need to hear this particular bit of advice. The 401 students, well, it was the 11th hour and they were getting ready to leave. And to give them this advice would be counterproductive and kind of cruel. So I didn't give them this advice. So I relegated this particular advice to the 201s and the 301s. Okay? Now we're on the same page. Now this wasn't the first thing out of my mouth during the first day of class. No. I had to build up to this. And there were all sorts of housekeeping and fun things that I needed to do before I can warm them up to hearing this. But eventually, at some point in that first day of class, I would look those students in the collective eye, and I would say this: if there's anything that you can do otherwise, do it. And you could see their faces just go slack and their eyes go wide. What is this man talking about? Why is he saying this to us? The answer? Being an artist is hard. It is incredibly challenging on every conceivable level, from financial to emotional to mental to physical. It's all so hard. And if it is not encoded in your DNA, this compulsion to create, if you don't feel that deep desire, that need in your body, in your heart, in your soul, then you have to ask yourself this question: why am I doing this? Now, 5 or so years ago, I also noticed another trend. And I don't know that this is as prominent as it was back then. But 5 years ago, there was a mad rush of people who saw this golden goose called publishing. When Amazon opened the floodgates and said, anyone can be a writer, have at it. A lot of people came at this who weren't artists. And they were coming at this from an environment of a job that they loathed. And they would do anything to get away from. And they saw this. They saw publishing as an escape. They may have never, ever created something artistic in their life. But they saw a lifeline from the daily grind of that hateful, heinous job. And every one of you have been there. I've been there. You've been there. We've all been there. We've all had those jobs that we would have given anything to be able to leave. And 5 years ago, Amazon gave all of those people this possibility. And so many of them took it. And they said, I can leave my job on my own terms. I can make a fortune writing books. Oh my gosh. And at first, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it looked like a reality. People were making money hand over fist with these books. Because some of us were on the forefront of this new model. And it was really easy to step out into the world of social media and say, hey, wrote a new book, everybody, here it is. And they just gobbled it up. Well, guess what? That led to thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people seeing this same golden egg and saying, I want a piece of that. And now there are millions of writers out there pumping out millions of books every day. Maybe not millions of books every day. I think the last time I checked, it was Amazon was receiving like 10,000 books a day for publication. So here's the thing. And this is the hard part of this little discussion that we're having and why I have hesitated for so very long to actually talk about this, because it comes off as me saying, no, you have no reason to be here. This particular party is invite only. That is not the case. And again, I always encourage people, if you have this desire, follow it. If you have this dream, follow it. But at the same time, I would say, please, do a bit of self-reflecting and ask yourself this question. Must I do this? Is this a need or a want? And I am not here to say if it's not a need, then step the hell back. Step off, because those of us who actually have to do this need to be seen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm here to do is I'm trying to open people's eyes to the reality of this situation. Number one, being an artist is incredibly hard. And you have got to have this unquenchable passion for creating to survive as an artist. And I'm not talking about financially survive as an artist, because chances are you're not going to survive financially just as an artist. You're going to have another job. You're going to have to gig yourself out. And the idea that someday someday I'm going to be a Stephen King. Well, guess what? There's never going to be another Stephen King. And that's not to say there's never going to be another writer that's as good as Stephen King, because there will be. There are. But the truth of the matter is, there will never be another, especially in the realm of horror, there will never be another writer as successful as Stephen King, because it happened to him at a very specific time, and certain things happened to him. I think one of the crucial elements of Stephen King's career is that so many of his books started getting made into television and movies, and that is what fueled his success. And we're at a point now, any one of us, any one of you out there who has said, this book that I've written would make a great television series or a movie, and you've looked into it and you realize the absolute only way that I can get Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or Peacock or any of those streaming services to look at my book as a potential source for a television series or movie is to have an agent. You've got to have an in. So even that is really hard. It is all incredibly, insidiously, impossibly hard. And I am truly and profoundly driven toward it. I have tried on occasion to stop creating, and I cannot do it. I must. The same thing holds true with my acting career. I must do that. So ultimately, it kind of boils down to this. If you don't have this compulsion, if you don't consider yourself a true artist, then be honest with yourself. Be honest with your expectations. And understand that it is likely at some point in this journey, you might have to say, I can't do this anymore. This struggle is too hard. And if you find yourself at that crossroads, it's okay. It is truly okay to step back and go, I had a good run. I tried. I don't feel this absolute desire to do this, so I'm just going to stop. That's okay. But you've got to be honest with yourself. And you've got to ask yourself that question. Am I, to my core, an artist? Does artistry, does being an artist define me? And if not, think about your options. That's really the nicest way I can say this. Because again, I don't want to discourage anybody from doing this. I want to encourage people to do it. But at the same time, I want to encourage people to have realistic expectations as to what will happen with their work. And right now, we're all kind of drowning in a flood. And hopefully, as the saying goes, a rising tide will lift all boats. And let's just hope that that tide rises a little faster, because right now it's kind of draining a little bit. We don't want that. We want to rise. So I'm here to lift you, whether or not it's to lift you out of it or to lift you up. Just be honest with yourself and your expectations and the reality of this situation, because it is hard. And it's not going to get any easier. Okay? All right, that's all I've got to say. And I'm glad that I was able to actually get this out of me, because I really needed to say this, because I feel like some people needed to hear it. Anyway, thank you again for giving me your attention for a brief period. Subscribe to me if you're so inclined. If not, then that's fine. Just, whatever. And if you enjoyed this, if you think that there's value in this particular conversation that I had, then please share it with other artists and other people that are considering being an artist, because I think it's important for them to hear. And most importantly, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Because you, my friends, are awesome. And if this is the last time you hear from me, have a happy holiday.